Yes, it certainly might be a little late. Well, well, I don't know about late or not, but it's fairly belated. But, this video, if I dare might represent, is the Imagery picture view video of the Worthing bus study from 2023, but telephone pictures, that is, the phone pictures taken from my smart telephone. That's it here. And I just want to put it back in my trouser pocket. I did most certainly indeed take some telephone pictures of the Worthing bus rally of 2023, as truth has it. And what made me want to do this is because I was recently thinking about my new friend Jonathan Clements, and the encountering we had was extraordinary. And Jonathan Clements, by the way, is someone who does view my content. He's a very friendly man, and he's a West Sussex resident, not an East Sussex resident. He's located in West Sussex, and I'm East Sussex, in England, of the United Kingdom, that is, as truth has it. He views my contents from time to time, and although the only thing is that I've never once received a comment from him, but never mind, not to worry. Never mind if I've never received a comment from Jonathan Clements himself, but he's a very nice man, and he's a bus enthusiast, believe this or not. Unfortunately, he's got a good connective bus route from where he lives to get a bus over to the Worthing bus rally should he want to go. But although I do worry about him, because though he may not have the greatest of health, it certainly does not stop him from attending rallies or certain events and things if he ever had the energy or the good health for it. Well, he doesn't have particularly good health. He did tell me, but I'm not going to say why, because it is deeply personal for Jonathan himself. And also because of how sorry I felt for poor Jonathan over his not so good health. But I'm not going to say what it is, because it's deeply personal for Jonathan, as said just moments ago now. But when I encountered Jonathan Clements, if I get to that story, when encountering Jonathan himself, it really did remind me a lot of when I first encountered David Scott, my best friend, and how our friendship began to flourish happily into the future years to come as the bonding increased and continued continually on a fairly occasional basis before we are now very, very close friends. But David Scott really, in a way, is my best friend. And David Scott is also a man I owe a lot to, and I'm extremely thankful towards, as I might have said before. And in a way, encountering Jonathan Clements was really almost exactly like, but not exactly like, but incredibly similar to when I encountered David Scott. But the only different thing was that when I first encountered David Scott, which was back in July 2021, 2 years before I first encountered Jonathan Clements, we did not ride on a bus together, because at the Worthing bus rally you can ride on a bus, and it will take you on a little excursion around some parts and some zones of the West Sussex counties, whether it's not too far from the Ada zone and all that, anywhere in the, I don't know necessarily anywhere, but many places within the West Sussex county. I didn't do that with David Scott back in 2021, because when we met it was literally when the Worthing bus rally itself was just finishing itself off. But when myself and Jonathan met, on the other hand, the Worthing bus rally was still ongoing, and we were in the fairly early zone of it. early zone of its running moments. And we immediately conversed in a conversation together, and I immediately liked Jonathan very, very much. And we boarded a bus together, and I think we sat, I don't know whether Jonathan sat next to me or whether I sat next to Jonathan, I'm trying to remember, and we had quite a good few chats together on the bus. And it was very nice. Although, but how I can tell Jonathan doesn't have terribly good health is he looked so frail, the poor man. I mean, though he's only in his 60s, he looked terribly frail for it, given his not so good health. Even though I'm not saying what the reason behind his not so good health, but he was terribly, I don't know if he is frail or not, but he looked really quite frail. Which I'd assume he's really only got a figure that's probably no bigger than 9.5 stone when I saw him. He's got to be smaller than what my 11 stone figure, or 11 stone or 154 pounds is my figure. He really only looked anywhere in between 125 to 132 pounds, or 9 stone or 9.5 stone. Which is anywhere roughly in the American weight of statistics is roughly 125 pounds, I think, for 9 stone, or it could be less or more, like, or 126 pounds, I don't know. But 9.5 stone's only about 132 pounds in weight in America, whereas my 11 stone, however, is 154 pounds, just to say, on a rough estimate, because I'm pretty sure 11 stone is 154 pounds, as far as what I checked. But if I did check and it was wrong, I deeply apologise if I said something that was misinformation. No, but the only difference was Jonathan. And Jonathan Clements himself, I nearly skipped a bit too far when I nearly said the very other thing. But Jonathan Clements, like David Scott, also reminds me of my late grandfather Edmund, given his friendliness, although the only difference is Jonathan Clements, he doesn't talk in the same way as David, or as you could expect, because obviously they're completely different individual people. And, but he's, because, he's got the kind nature, like my late grandfather Edmund, which very, very much which is very much the personality traits, of course, in the way Jonathan himself reminds me of my wonderful late grandfather Edmund. And David Scott himself reminds me of my late grandfather Edmund too, just maybe slightly more strict, because if you were to say, do a video that had a lot of swearing in, for example, he'd be saying, don't do it again, or otherwise I'm going to talk to Kim and she'll be angry with you if you do that again. No swearing next time. So no more swearing, or otherwise I'm going to talk to Kim. I mean, Edmund wouldn't have done that, but he'd say, remember, no swearing. It is extremely rude. Whereas David would say, oh, the swearing, or crudity. No, that's too much. No. Otherwise I'm going to talk to Kim. I think if it was Jonathan, I could be wrong saying this, he'd say, could you just not do too much swearing next time, please? He'd probably say something like that. Although, obviously, I would take him seriously on that matter for certain, but there are some people who probably would not take it seriously enough. Some silly people. Never mind. No, but the only difference is that Jonathan Clements is not short like David Scott is, or my late grandfather Edmund was, as in fact my late grandfather Edmund was shorter than I was, and not to mention thinner as well. And David Scott himself is shorter than I am, as well, as I might have said before. But Jonathan Clements, what am I? Because I'm only 5'8" in height and 11 stone, or 154 pounds, as said before. alongside reasonably big feet at size UK 8 or 9 US. But Jonathan Clements, I don't know how tall he is, but I would assume he was about 5'10", I would imagine, around about 5'10", something like that, so fairly tall, but really, how I described Jonathan was he was quite tall and fairly gaunt, is how I describe him. But obviously some people are, in terms of health-related things or biological-related things. So, yes, you know, but poor Jonathan, you know. But anyway, that's enough on Jonathan. Maybe one more thing about Jonathan, but Jonathan, even though he's not a Brighton and Hove resident, he does know a lot of the Brighton and Hove area quite well, since his ex-girlfriend is a Brighton and Hove resident. He did tell me of this. I don't think they ever had a terrible relationship, but I think they were just better off being friends, but they're deeply close. As friends, they're really have a deeply close best friend relationship, according to what Jonathan said, which is always really nice. If a boyfriend and girlfriend or husband and wife relationship doesn't work out, what really matters most is whether it's a husband and wife relationship, partner relationship, or just ordinary distance boyfriend and girlfriend relationship doesn't work out, the most vitally and thoroughly, immensely important thing is that they remain friends. But sometimes they don't, it's what happens. Never mind. But after the final thing about Jonathan Clements, which is really the highlight of Worthing Bus Rally 2023 when I went, let's see the very telephone pictured version of the Imagery picture view videos of the Worthing Bus Rally 2023 itself.
A British tar is a soaring soul, as free as a mountain bird. His energetic fist should be ready to resist a dictatorial word. His nose should pan, and his lips should curl. His cheek should flame, and his brow should turn. His bosom should heave, and his heart should glow. And his fist be ever ready for a knock. His nose should bend, and his lips should curl. His cheek should flame, and his brow should turn. His bosom should heave, and his heart should glow. And his fist be ever ready for a knock down low. His eyes should flash with an inborn fire, his brow with scorn be wrung. He never should bow down to a domineering frown, or the tang of a tyrant's tongue. His foot should stamp, and his throat should growl. His hair should twirl, and his face should scowl. His eyes should flash, and his breast and this should be his customary attitude. His foot should stamp, and his throat should growl. His hair should twirl, and his face should scowl. His eyes should flash, and his breast protrude, and this should be his customary attitude. His attitude, his attitude, his attitude.
It was a wonderful event, the Worthing Bus Rally 2023 event, and just to say, David Scott did go to that one, by the way, if I dare might point out, despite the rainy weather. Well, you see, Foxy, just because it's rainy weather doesn't always mean it'll put me off going there, would it? Is what he probably, I think that was what he said, something like that, you know. But the Worthing bus, but the main, although David Scott and my good friend Bill from Surrey were also a prominent highlight of the Worthing Bus Rally event, alongside other enthusiast friends of mine, and particularly Ainsley as well. The biggest highlight of the Worthing Bus Rally 2023 event was encountering Jonathan Clements, you know, and I certainly do hope to meet Jonathan Clements again someday, and hope maybe, but he might decide to go, but I think I'll leave that to Jonathan himself to decide. I did once have a dream that we met up one day at the Worthingstein Gardens at the time of a future Worthing Lions Classic Car Show event. Maybe not 2024, but in a certain future years ahead of 2024, but it could happen in 2024. You never know, but we shall leave that to Jonathan Clements himself to decide, shall we? Thanks everybody for watching, and thanks Jonathan if you were watching too, and I certainly do hope we can meet again someday. Thanks everybody indeed for watching, and I shall certainly see you in the very next video. Ta-ta, another time. From Foxy. Oh.